harmless crush or emotional affair. My 30F boyfriend, 36M, and I have been together for almost 8 years. I'm generally a pretty secure person, but over the past few months I started to get bad vibes about my boyfriend's relationship with his new coworker. They spend all day together at work. She's more of his physical type than I am. She has a lot in common physically to a lot of his exes. I'm definitely the outlier. She had a similar upbringing to him, and she shares his obsessive love of music and bands. He started becoming glued to his phone and would text her constantly, even during dinners, even when we were cuddling and watching TV. I started feeling really jealous of their connection but didn't know how to bring it up with him. I've never been put in this position and I hate how it makes me feel. I tend to second-guess myself and invalidate my own feelings, so I'd been trying to tell myself I was just being insecure and paranoid, but after he texted me a couple of days ago telling me that he was going to a concert alone with her this weekend, I made a post on Reddit and the replies reassured me I wasn't being crazy or controlling, so I plucked up the courage to talk to him about how I was feeling. I told him that I wasn't comfortable with him going to the concert with her this weekend, and that I actually haven't been comfortable with their friendship, more specifically the constant communication, for a long time. I explained to him that my fear of seeming insecure caused me to bottle this up, because I didn't want to push him away. He was saying things like, "I had no idea you felt that way, I'm so sorry, but I wasn't getting the validation I needed." I wanted him to tell me that she wasn't anyone special, but he wasn't saying that. So I asked him point blank if he had feelings for her. That's when he confessed that he did. He said it was a harmless crush that he's had for a while now, but that he's keeping it to himself and hasn't acted physically upon it. Already I felt sick by this. I understand, harmless crushes are pretty normal in long-term relationships, even though I've never really experienced it myself. But I feel like the depth of their friendship, their constant communication, their plans to hang out alone etc., is completely inappropriate. I would have expected a trustworthy, dependable person to acknowledge they have a harmless crush and then distance themselves from the person they're crushing on, not go out of their way to continue to get closer to them. So then I did something I've never done in almost 8 years. I demanded to see his phone. He was muttering, "I can't believe this is happening," but eventually handed it to me. I scrolled back all the way to beginning of their texts, and fuck me there was significant other much of it, and started skimming through. A lot of the chat was mundane banter, but there were a few messages that stood out to me. In one message she asked him what he was doing. He said he was having dinner at particular restaurant with his friend X, when he was actually on a date with me. The most painful ones were the ones where they would say how much they loved spending time together that day and how much they missed each other. One of his messages to her said, "You're the easiest person to talk to in the world." At one point she was telling him how she had a date but was feeling nervous. He told her to not be nervous because she's amazing, she looks amazing, and that her date was the luckiest guy in the world. This was all I needed to see. Like, how can you call that a harmless crush? This is a full-blown emotional affair in my eyes. I asked him how he would feel if I was texting other men like this. I was so angry. And so heartbroken. He started crying saying that he didn't realize how bad it sounded, he didn't know what he was thinking, and that he's an idiot who just got carried away. I said it sounded like he doesn't love me very much if he thought it was okay to do this. He just became more and more hysterical, crying harder, saying he loved me and I was the love of his life etc. I packed a bag and left. He kept asking me what he needed to do to fix this and I told him I didn't know, that it was on him to figure that out. He's since texted me saying that he'll do anything. That he's sorry for getting caught up in a stupid crush, but he would never throw what we have away for anything or anyone. He's written long paragraphs about what he loves about me, how I'm the best thing that's ever happened to him and how he wants to grow old with me. I just don't know whether I can forgive this or move on from this. I know people say, crushes are normal. And part of me worries people will think I'm being immature for being so hurt by this, but this feels like a deep betrayal to me. He may not have physically cheated, but this is emotional cheating to me, and it feels worse. Every time I think about forgiving him, I picture that text message where he told her she was the easiest person to talk to in the world, and I feel devastated. I've always been his listener, his soother. He's an anxious person who gets very stressed out about life and people. He comes home and vents to me and I am always there to comfort him while he unloads on me. How the fuck can he say that about some other girl who isn't me? Goes to show. Always believe your gut. The whole time I was second-guessing myself, telling myself I was just being a jealous little girl, but it turns out my suspicions were right. Anyway, I'd love to know what other people think. if you think I'm overreacting or if I'm justified feeling so hurt by this. What's the difference between a harmless crush and an emotional affair? Too long did not read. I was feeling insecure about my boyfriend's friendship with his new co-worker. I finally asked him about it and he admitted he had a harmless crush on her, but the texts between them read like a full-on emotional affair. Edit. I want to give a huge thanks to everyone who is replying. I'm reading every response and I'm really grateful. I just wanted to add a few clarifications, updates. I've met this coworker a couple of times. I didn't like her and didn't enjoy being around her. She wasn't nasty to me or anything, but when I would ask her a question she would give me brief one-word answers before turning to my boyfriend and turning the topic of convo to something that excluded me, like about work or about a band they both like. They seemed very comfortable together and had a lot of inside jokes that I didn't feel happy being around, feeling on the outside of. I got a bad vibe from her, but I dismissed it at the time as me just being extra sensitive because I felt so insecure about her. He has texted me saying that he's told her he's not going to the concert and that he won't be spending time with her outside of work. He later texted that he's blocked her completely on everything. But he'll still have to see her every day at work. I'm still working through how I feel, but right now I don't feel comfortable with that and I don't trust that they'll just magically become impersonal colleagues from this moment on. My suspicion is that he might think she's more compatible because of all the things they have in common, including this obsessive interest in music. A few weeks ago he even told me they were going to start a music project together. That's now been canned. I'm still processing and working out my feelings, and I'm not responding to any of his texts, but we plan to meet up Sunday and talk about it in person, and this is one of the things I will be asking him. We've discussed marriage before, it's not something either of us are interested in. We are also very happy being child-free. So us not being married or not having kids should not in itself be taken as proof of non-commitment. I think your reaction was entirely proportionate to this situation. You don't go out of your way to spend time with a crush unless on some level you're hoping for something to happen. Even if this is just a fantasy he's got caught up in, that speaks to his judgment. The difference and the issue here is that he's asked you what he can do and told you he would do anything, but has he stopped texting her? Stopped spending so much time and energy on her? That's not something you should have to ask. He knows the issue and apparently understands it's a problem. The difference between a harmless crush and an emotional affair is how it is acted upon. A harmless crush is one that is nipped in the bud as soon as the crusher notices it. An emotional affair is one that the crusher eagerly feeds and encourages. There's certainly gray area in between, and you have to draw your own hard and soft boundaries as to how much indulging of the crush is too much. I'm really sorry that you have to deal with this. He is emotionally cheating on you and he's a total asshole for that. He should go no contact with her and find another job or position. Unless he's willing to completely break off all contact with her, including changing jobs, then his feelings for her won't go away. Give him one opportunity to prove that he's willing to do this. If he gives any excuse not to do this, then you know he's not willing to put you first in his life. Do not move back in if he's still working with her. Hi, I went through something similar, so like you said, yes, absolutely always trust your gut. I forgave him, but I actually ended up building so much resentment towards him and he ended up leaving me because of how bitter I had become. I don't blame him at that point because I forgave him, but please don't make the same mistake I made. I wish I had left him the moment I caught him doing that. He's disrespected you and yes, you could forgive him, but absolutely there's no way I could move past that if I was faced in that position again. Stay strong. That's exactly how my husband's first affair started. Definitely not overreacting. You're correct, what he's doing is emotional cheating and he's only sorry because he got caught. It's time for an ultimatum. Either he finds a different job or you find a different apartment.